The Word of God says, open quotes, "I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. I will recount all of your wonderful deeds. I will be glad and exult in you. I will sing praise to your name, O Most High. When my enemies turn back, they stumble and perish before your presence. For you have maintained my just cause. You have sat on the throne, giving righteous judgment. You have rebuked the nations. You have made the wicked perish. You have blotted out their name forever and ever. The enemy came to an end in everlasting ruins. Their cities you rooted out. The very memory of them has perished. But the Lord sits enthroned forever. He has established his throne for justice, and he judges the world with righteousness. He judges the peoples with uprightness. The Lord is a stronghold for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. And those who know your name put their trust in you. For you, O Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you. Sing praises to the Lord, who sits enthroned in Zion. Tell among the peoples his deeds. For he who avenges blood is mindful of them. He does not forget the cry of the afflicted. Be gracious to me, O Lord. See my affliction from those who hate me, O you who lift me up from the gates of death, that I may recount all your praises, that in the gates of the daughter of Zion I may rejoice in your salvation. The nations have sunk in the pit that they made. In the net that they hid, their own foot has been caught. The Lord has made himself known. He has executed judgment. The wicked are snared in the work of their own hands. The wicked shall return to Sheol, all the nations that forget God. For the needy shall not always be forgotten, and the hope of the poor shall not perish forever. Arise, O Lord, let not man prevail. Let the nations be judged before you. Put them in fear, O Lord. Let the nations know that they are but men. Close quotes. Psalm 9, God, the refuge of the oppressed. Psalm 9, written by King David, is a profound hymn of gratitude and trust in God's justice. It celebrates God as the ultimate refuge for the oppressed and highlights his righteous judgment over the wicked. Through its poetic structure, this psalm offers hope to those enduring suffering, reminding them of God's unwavering presence and his promise to bring justice. Let us delve into the richness of this psalm, exploring its timeless truths and their relevance in our lives today. A heart of gratitude, verses 1 to 2. David begins the psalm with an outpouring of thanksgiving. I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. I will recount all of your wonderful deeds. These opening lines emphasize the importance of gratitude. David's thanksgiving is wholehearted, reflecting a deep awareness of God's past faithfulness. This serves as a model for us. When we face trials, remembering God's previous interventions can inspire confidence in his ongoing care. David also commits to recounting God's deeds, underscoring the importance of sharing testimonies of his goodness. Our stories of God's work in our lives can encourage others and remind them of his sovereignty. God's justice and sovereignty, verses 3 to 8. David turns his focus to God's role as a righteous judge. For you have maintained my just cause. You have sat on the throne, giving righteous judgment. These verses highlight God's active engagement in human affairs. He defends the righteous, rebukes the wicked, and ensures that justice prevails. David contrasts the fleeting power of the wicked with the eternal reign of God. But the Lord sits enthroned forever. He has established his throne for justice. This truth is a source of immense comfort. In a world often marked by injustice, we can rest in the assurance that God's judgment is perfect. While human systems may fail, God's justice is unchanging and eternal. A refuge for the oppressed, verses 9 to 10. One of the most comforting aspects of this psalm is its portrayal of God as a refuge. The Lord is a stronghold for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. This imagery conveys the idea of safety and security. Just as a fortress provides protection from physical danger, God offers spiritual and emotional refuge for those who are vulnerable. These verses also emphasize the importance of trust. And those who know your name put their trust in you. For you, O Lord, have not forsaken those who seek you. Knowing God's name signifies an intimate relationship with Him. It is this relationship that enables us to trust Him, even in the midst of adversity. A call to proclaim God's deeds, verses 11 to 12. David invites others to join in praising God. Sing praises to the Lord, who sits enthroned in Zion. Tell among the peoples His deeds. This call to worship reminds us of the communal aspect of faith. Praising God is not just a personal act. It is something we are called to share with others. Moreover, these verses highlight God's attentiveness to the cries of the afflicted. He is not a distant deity, but a compassionate Father who is mindful of His children's suffering. The reversal of the wicked's plans, verses 13 to 16. David reflects on how God's justice often works through the very schemes of the wicked. The nations have sunk in the pit that they made. In the net that they hid, their own foot has been caught. This theme of divine reversal demonstrates that God's justice is not only righteous, but also poetic. The traps set by the wicked often ensnare them, revealing God's sovereign control over all circumstances. For us, this is a reminder that no evil act goes unnoticed. Even when justice seems delayed, God is at work, ensuring that the wicked face the consequences of their actions. A promise for the needy and oppressed, verses 17 to 18. David assures the oppressed that they are not forgotten. For the needy shall not always be forgotten, and the hope of the poor shall not perish forever. These verses affirm God's commitment to the marginalized. While human systems may overlook the poor and oppressed, God never does. He sees their plight and promises to uphold their hope. This truth challenges us to reflect on how we, as God's people, can align ourselves with His heart for justice. How can we advocate for the oppressed and provide hope to the downtrodden in our communities? A plea for God's intervention, verses 19 to 20. The psalm concludes with a passionate plea. Arise, O Lord, let not man prevail. Let the nations be judged before you. David's cry reflects a deep longing for God's justice to be fully realized. It is a prayer of surrender, acknowledging that ultimate justice belongs to God alone. This closing prayer also serves as a reminder of humanity's frailty. Put them in fear, O Lord. Let the nations know that they are but men. Recognizing our limitations should lead us to humility and dependence on God. Lessons from Psalm 9. Psalm 9 offers profound insights into God's character and His relationship with humanity. Let us consider its key themes and their application in our lives. 1. Gratitude as a foundation of faith. David's wholehearted thanksgiving sets the tone for the psalm. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to despair, reminding us of God's past faithfulness and inspiring hope for the future. 2. Trusting in God's justice. In a world where injustice often seems to prevail, Psalm 9 reassures us that God is in control. His judgments are perfect, and His justice will ultimately be established. 3. Finding refuge in God. The imagery of God as a stronghold is particularly comforting. When we face trials, we can turn to Him for protection and peace, knowing that He is a refuge for the oppressed. 4. The power of worship and testimony. David's call to proclaim God's deeds reminds us of the importance of sharing our faith. Worship and testimony are powerful tools for encouraging others and glorifying God. 5. Hope for the marginalized. Psalm 9 highlights God's special concern for the needy and oppressed. This should inspire us to reflect His compassion in our actions, advocating for justice and offering hope to those in need. Conclusion. Psalm 9 is a beautiful declaration of God's sovereignty, justice, and compassion. It reminds us that even in the face of oppression, we have a refuge in Him. As we meditate on this psalm, may we be inspired to trust in God's righteous judgment, seek His refuge, and proclaim His goodness to the world. Let this timeless hymn encourage us to live lives marked by gratitude, faith, and a commitment to justice.